Today we're making zesty garlic refrigerator dill pickles. You do not know how excited I am about this. So yay, pickles. Brian's going to make them for me. Thank you.
I'm eating them too, just so you know. So yeah, these are pretty basic refrigerator pickles. They're just kind of zesty. They have a little garlic added to them. They're just really good, but they're really easy to make too. Yeah. Can I go through the ingredients?
Sorry.
Okay. So what you're going to need to make this. Now, keep in mind, just like always, I'm going to have the full recipe and all of these things listed out below. So you don't have to keep notes. Just sit back, relax, enjoy. It's covered. First, you need a pot. Preferably something non-reactive because you're going to be putting some vinegar and stuff in here. So stainless steel is good, you know, that kind of thing. You're also going to need jars to put them in. These happen to be 1 quart size mason jars for the amount of pickles that we're going to be making. This is about right. I'm not preserving these. That's why we're using plastic caps. They're just going to go in the fridge.
They're also wide mouth because it makes it easier to put the pickles in.
Yeah, you'll never get them in a small mouth. I mean, it can be done. It's just not as easy. We did sanitize these just because we happen to be brewers too. So we have Star San. If you don't, it's okay. Just get your biggest pot, bring a bunch of water to a boil, leave them in there for about 30 seconds or so, pull them out with tongs. Don't burn yourself. Let them dry. Try not to touch the insides at all. Don't touch the lids or anything like the lips or whatever. And you can use that too. It's just fine. You're going to need salt. Now, this happens to be canning and pickling salt. The only real difference is this is very, very, very fine grain. So it dissolves really easy in cold or hot water. We're going to be using hot liquid, so you can use whatever salt you have. Whole black peppercorns. Not crushed stuff, not already ground up. You want whole, trust me. Some red pepper flake. This happens to be some fancy stuff that we got at the Asian supermarket, but you can use whatever red pepper flake you have. You can even take a jalapeno, cut it in half, and toss it in there. We did that last time. You're going to want dill weed. Now, if you have fresh dill, which ours died, and I used most of it. If you have fresh dill, use that. Just use a whole big sprig of dill. If you have dill seeds, they work too. This is dill weed. I've never actually done it this way, but I'm gonna give it a try. It's just the herb. Coriander seeds. I don't have a lot of them left. I'm just going to use a few in there. Mustard seeds. I really like the light colored mustard seeds for these. It works really well for me. I'm using apple cider vinegar. And notice this is the cheap stuff because you're boiling it off. You're killing off any good stuff that might be in there. It's still better for you than, say, a regular vinegar by that much. I happen to like the flavor of apple cider vinegar. If that bothers you, you can use plain white vinegar. You can use white wine vinegar. You can even use red wine vinegar, but it might make the pickles go a little brown. So if you like brown pickles, use that. Gonna need a measuring cup. I pretty much use a measuring cup all the time. So you just have a measuring cup handy. Sugar. I happen to be using my Muscovado cane sugar thing that I get from Aldi. I like it. That's why I'm using it. You could use plain old white sugar. You can use brown sugar if you really want to. But again, brown mixed with green makes browner pickles. Probably not such a good thing. Water. It's not hot. It's not cold. It's just right out of the tap. Again, we filter our water. There's no chlorine and there's no sediment in there. Chlorine probably wouldn't hurt this so much. This is not a fermentation. There's nothing living. The idea is actually to kill everything that's in here this time. But I still wouldn't want chlorine in my pickles because it's going to get in there and it's going to affect the flavor. Something else to say about these is this is not going to preserve. So if you want to make this and sit it on a shelf for a year, don't do that. These are meant to go in the fridge, be eaten within a few weeks, and that's it. That's why I'm making 2 jars because I know that lasts us about 6-7 days usually. But maybe a little bit more than that. You can usually get 3 to 4 weeks out of a jar of these kept in the fridge. We might do another canning episode of this idea where we actually show you how to preserve them. But for today, we're keeping it simple just to make quick pickles.
So with this general idea of the different ingredients, because he's selected these items specifically for my tastes.
Oh yeah, you can change it up.
You can change it. So if you don't like garlic, don't put garlic in it. If you really like garlic, put more garlic in it.
If you don't like garlic, we can't be friends.
It's true, but it's okay.
Garlic is an important flavor in dill pickles.
If you don't like spicy,
oh yeah, you can leave that out.
You can leave that out. If you like more spicy, you can put more spicy. The last batch, like Brian said, we did put a slice of jalapeno. Our jalapenos this year are extremely spicy.
They're like twice as hot as a normal jalapeno.
Which we don't mind. We love spicy food, so it didn't
And they
bother
go
us.
a lot further that way.
It was like a half of a jalapeno.
Yeah, it was roughly half a jalapeno.
In a whole jar, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was great.
So this is per your taste, but this specific recipe is per my taste.
So the first thing you want to do is you want to get your brine started, okay? And the brine is the liquid that you put it in. And it's a really simple batch to do this. Basically, this is a quart jar, right? I'm going to be using 2. The pickles take up about half the space. So that means I need about 4 cups of brine, okay? If you missed that, there's 4 cups in each of these, so that's 8. 8 minus the pickles is 4. Therefore, I need 4. So the basic brine is 2 cups of vinegar, 2 cups of water, half a cup of sugar, and 2 tablespoons of salt. That's the basic brine. That will make you a pickle. It won't have a lot of flavor, but it'll have the basic pickle thing going on, and it'll be somewhat preserved. Okay, because of the use of the vinegar and sugar and salt, there is some preservation going on there. That's why they can last for a few weeks.
it also helps them stay crunchy in the solution.
Anyway, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to just get going on this. So we need 2 cups of vinegar. And again, this is just apple cider vinegar, nothing super fancy. I happen to like it. I know a lot of people just use white vinegar, and that's fine too. There's nothing wrong with it. And I'm going to make sure that all gets in there. And I love the smell of vinegar. I don't know why, I just did. And 2 cups of water.
For some reason, the smell of vinegar to me brings me back to my childhood when my family would dye Easter eggs. So it's a pleasant memory for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It also smells like food to me. I don't know. It just does. 2 tablespoons of sugar. Or, I'm sorry, half a cup of sugar. What am I saying? Let me rinse this out.
Dry it out.
Dry it out. Because if I don't, I know what's going to happen.
Sugar will stick everywhere.
It's just going to stick everywhere. Okay, pardon me while I do this. By the way, if the camera moves at all, you can blame Thor and Fawn. They're kind of hanging out underneath it. Okay, that's half cup. You want to be kind of close on these measurements. You don't want to be too far off. Because it is science, and it is, I mean, we're dealing with botulism here if you mess it up. Not to scare anybody, you're probably not going to have a problem, because realistically, the amount of vinegar that we put in there is taking that acidity level, the pH so low, botulism probably can't exist. It needs a low acid environment. Here we have a very acidic environment. And then I need salt.
Are you going to need a spoon?
Nah, I have a spoon right here.
No, I mean to stir.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
I'm going to measure this. 2 tablespoons. I'm just going to eyeball 2 tablespoons. If you don't know if your hand actually measures tablespoons, use a spoon. Use a measurer. Solidified a little. There we go. Now, the salt and sugar, don't skimp on either one. I know some people say, oh, but sugar is... Yeah, you know what? Sugar is a preservative. You need that. And the salt, too. It's not a lot. It's 2 tablespoons. And it's not all going to get in there, so don't worry about it. Kick this thing on and put it to max. Because what we want to do is get this to a boil, okay? It's not going to take super long, and this is part of why Derek is here, so we don't get a boil over. If it starts to boil, turn it down. So while that's heating up, I'm going to start preparing our cucumbers. What you want to do is figure out stem versus blossom end. The blossom end generally, well, I don't know if you can see that, versus the stem end. That's the blossom end. What you want to do is cut that blossom end off, and here's why. There's an enzyme in the end of it, just the last quarter inch or so. There's an enzyme in there that'll actually help this to break down, which, you know what that means? Mushy pickles. Nobody wants mushy pickles. What I do is I cut in half this way, hold them together, and in half again this way. Keep your fingers out of the way, and that way you get perfect spears, okay? Some of them might be a little bit thinner, but that's okay. You know what that means? They'll be ready faster. You can make coins out of them if you want to. You can leave them whole if you want to. They will actually work. If you leave it whole, it's going to take more like 2 weeks before this tastes like a pickle. If you do it this way, the way I'm doing it, they're ready in 2-3 days.
Is there a difference in pickles with these smaller pickles versus the ginormous pickles?
Yes. For one, these, I forget what they're called. I think these are Persian pickles. These will stay a little crispier through the process, whereas like English pickles and the classic pickles that you would put on a salad, they tend to go a little bit mushier, so you don't necessarily want to use those for making pickles.
So basically you want to look for the smaller pickles, or sometimes they're even labeled pickling pickles, right?
Yes, and they fit perfectly in a quart jar. We get these from Aldi, so if you have an Aldi near you, we need Aldi to like start paying us or something. But if you have an Aldi near you, their pickles are awesome. Just one thing I will say about shopping at Aldi for vegetables, and this is going to sound horrible, but if you get vegetables at Aldi, use them within a day or two, because they do not refrigerate in the store. So those things were on a truck, they've been sitting. Yeah, the sooner you use it, the better. We've had quite a bit of our vegetables that, we let them sit for too long and they went bad. Whereas going to the regular grocery store, we never had that problem because we eat them fast enough that it's not really an issue. Can you give that a quick stir? And what you want to do is just cut all these pickles down. I'm going a little bit bigger than the first one, I know, and that's okay. Having a sharp knife makes this super easy. And I just got 2 packages. I estimated how much 2 packages does. It's just one of those things. Can't really say exactly how much I need. I mean, I fill the jar. When there's any left, I eat them. They're cucumbers. They're good. So now that we're at that point, what I'm going to do is I have 2 cloves of garlic that we cut in half, pretty much. You can put them in whole. I like to give them a little smash just to get more of that garlic out. And funny enough, they become edible with this method too. You can totally just eat them at the end of it, and they don't really taste like garlic anymore, do they?
They still taste like garlic. They're just like a milder
okay.
garlic.
Now that it's kind of solidified or melted in, it's dissolved, not
Dissolved.
solidified. Yeah,
Dissolved.
the opposite of solidified. I'm going to start putting in the adjuncts, if you will. These are the flavorings, and that would be. Now, I am not one for measuring, but don't get crazy on this. If you put in a little extra black peppercorn, it's not the end of the world. Okay? I'm going to say, what is that? Maybe a tablespoon, right? Put them in there. Then we have dillweed. Now this, you actually want a pretty good amount of. So I'm probably going to do like a whole tablespoon and see what it looks like. It's probably going to make the liquid go cloudy because I'm using the whole herb. Certainly smells like dill. Maybe we'll do a tablespoon and a half. Just that's my feeling. You'll know in a couple days how it worked.
I really like the flavor of dill.
I don't.
Brian, not so much. So.
But I put enough in. I made sure I didn't hold back. Mustard seeds. I really like having these in there. It gives that little extra spice. So I'm going to do like a good strong, little over a tablespoon. And then coriander is actually
Cilantro.
cilantro. It's the seeds of the cilantro plant. I just love the smell. It smells like pickles.
Yeah. I never thought about that until you said that.
Yeah. If you ever see in a pickle jar little seeds at the bottom, that's coriander and mustard, actually. Both of those together create a lot of the flavor that what we think of as pickles. Dill is not the only thing working in there. Now, if you like zesty pickles, put in about that much. If you really like zesty pickles, put in about that much. If you're us, you put in about that much. This is red pepper flake. It's not that hot. And it's not like you're going to be eating it. Just it gets infused into it. These will probably be pretty spicy pickles, but they're not going to like blow your head off or anything like that. They're going to taste good. Oh.
Did you?
Funnel. The rest of this is really, really simple. Okay? What we need is for that to come to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, I'm going to start pouring it. Well, actually, no. I'm going to put the pickles in first. Yeah, because, I'm a natural blonde. Okay, here's how you put the pickles in. You want to make sure that they're not facing, like that they're all separated, right? And you see how I'm holding it to the side? Just put them in, because if I start doing it from the top, I'll never get them all in. They'll fall all over the place. You want to pack them in pretty tightly, and there's a reason for that. They will hold themselves together. You want everything to be under the brine, so you want to be careful that you pack them in tight enough that they stay under the brine. Make sense? I might not have said that very well. Okay, what I mean is, see how I'm packing these in and making them as straight as possible, except for that one guy who's going crooked on me. You want to get them in there tight so that they hold each other together so they won't float. All right? That's the word I was looking for. Float. We happen to have pickle pebbles. That's what they're called. These are actually pretty cool, and I think I can put a link to these in the description. I don't think that's how I got them, but I think I can put a link to them. What they do is they're just a piece of glass. We cleaned them, you know, they're sanitized, and it holds the pickles down so that they don't float up.
They're fermenting weights.
Yeah, that's all they are. Okay, this is just about boiling. And the only thing I want to do when I do pour this out is I want to try to get as much stuff into each of them as possible. You can also, as an alternative, put the adjuncts in the jars and then pour the liquid over them. Some people do it that way, some people do it this way. I tend to like to try to open up those herbs just a little bit more with the boiling water, because once you take it off the boil, it's no longer boiling. It's almost boiling. Those few degrees could make a difference. So a little bit about storing these. Really simple. Once it's filled, put the lid on. I let them sit out for just a little bit to cool before I stick them in the fridge. I just don't like to put super hot boiling things in my fridge. It makes other things get sweaty. Let them sit out for a few hours, put them in the fridge. I would wait 3 to 4 days, then you can start eating. Thor, not now. That would be Thor. He's needy sometimes. Okay, this is just about out of boil, and every time I start, it stops. Okay, this is where it gets tricky.
Do you want to put the garlic, like divide the garlic in?
Oh yeah, I should do that. The garlic's the biggest thing, so we gotta hurry up. They're really hot, and they're not gonna go under now. Oh, we have to wait. I normally don't like the weights, but one of the jars wasn't gonna fit all of them in there well, so we kind of have to do it. So, all right, I'll show you. Okay, and really simple, you just want to pour it in. Notice how Derka moves away. Hey, Thor. Not now. Yeah. Now, headroom. Varying opinions on this one. If you're preserving, you need more headroom. Just, you know, like a ½ inch, because what's going to happen is you're going to force all that air out, create a vacuum, that kind of thing. We're not doing any of that. By the way, remember before when I was mentioning how much? That's all that's left. Just quarter cup, maybe. Now I'm going to put the weights in and hope I don't overflow them. Ha! Thor, go away.
We jokingly call Brian the volumizer because he has this really uncanny knack of just randomly picking the exact right amount to fill a container.
Then I just put my lids on, and notice I'm using a towel to hold the jar, because that was boiling liquid. It's hot. And there we have it. Again, like I say, let these sit out to cool for a couple hours, stick them in the fridge, 3-4 days, good to go.
I'm so excited. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a like.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Non più tra i farfalloni amoroso, notte e giorno di torno.